Darren for strumpatterns.com, and today we're going to look at Guitar Pro 6 and look at some of its new features, especially using like an acoustic guitar or some strum patterns and rhythm guitar and things of that nature. Guitar Pro 6 has some really nice features for that it didn't have in Guitar Pro 5, and so I'm going to demo those for you today. All right, to start off, we're going to create a new one, and we're going to select steel guitar, and we are going to use the song The Only Exception from Paramore. All right, and the tab is by strumpatterns.com, and you can find this and many other tabs on my site. So visit strumpatterns.com and check those out. All right, so the first thing is this song is in 3/4, so we're going to change the time signature. Time signature is up here. Click on that, and you can check this if you want something like 11/8 or something like that. You can just do that, but we want a pretty standard 3/4, so there you go. Then a nice feature is here's the tempo, and I'm going to change the tempo, and it's something around 132 is about the tempo of the song. So it's something like this: 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, and 3, and as also 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, and 3, and so you can see that you can just tap it in. If you happen to know the speed, you can type it in like that, but you can also tap it in if you're familiar with the way the song sounds. All right, so I'm going to apply that, say OK. This right here, the S.GT, that's telling you that's the steel guitar, and if you double click on this, notice that's right there. If you were, doing a Guns N' Roses tab or something, and you knew that was played by Slash, you could type in that, and that would change to whatever there. So you can add whatever you want in here. Okay? And I got to that just by double clicking on that. Okay, so from here, we need to change the key signature, and that's easily done by selecting here. And we want the key of E. And if you want C sharp minor, you could select the minor radio button, but we want the key of E, so there you go. And now from here, we've got the tempo, we've got the time signature, we've got the key signature. So first thing we're going to do is change the tuning. And now we're going to select the guitar over here. And right now the guitar is set up to standard tuning, but this song happens to use the first string lowered to a D sharp. Okay, so the high E string is tuned down 1/2 step to a D sharp. Now notice, it records as an E flat, which is the enharmonic respelling of D sharp. D sharp and E flat are pretty much the same thing. There's a theoretical difference, but they're pretty much the same thing. So you can check this flat, and that will make it a sharp here. And notice right here, it's telling me now that I'm using a custom tuning, and if I wanted to hear what that tuning sounds like, I can just push this play button here, and it will allow me to hear the tuning and pluck each string one at a time for me. I can apply a capo to the song if I want by just hitting this, and that'll let me select what fret number to put the capo on. Okay, so one thing I did when I first started doing this was I thought, at this point, you're good to go. And I started writing in the tablature, and I realized it didn't apply that tuning. So one thing you need to do is before you get going, you need to make sure you apply the tuning. And you have two different check marks here. You have one that just is apply tuning to current track, and you also have apply tuning to current track and transpose it. So if you had started to try to figure out what was going on in the song, and you this very often happens if you're writing in standard tuning and then you realize the whole guitar was detuned a 1/2 step. Then instead of rewriting the whole tablature, you can just hit the tuning and hit this transpose, and it'll transpose everything down for you that you've already written in standard, or vice versa, however it goes. So this will transpose to the new tuning if you started out in transcribing in the wrong tuning. So I'm just going to select this. And then now we're ready to actually start entering some of the notes. So I'm going to type in the first chord here, and it is 7, 9, 9, and then the top two strings are open. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to the chord symbols over here, and we're going to add this chord to the chord library for this song. And notice right here, we've got it at the 7th fret, which is where we want it, and it tells you the finger numbers. And a nice feature is it tells you the notes down here. And one thing to notice is that it's got this D sharp written here, which is the correct for the tuning. We had detuned this from an E, which it normally is, to a D sharp, and it's got that in here. So that's really nice. And the reason why we wanted this as a D sharp and not an E flat is because the chords. Guitar Pro 6 tries to make intelligent guesses as far as what chord you're trying to play here. And in this case, it got it right. Even with this altered tuning that it was probably unaware of, it got that this is a B chord. All right. So I'm going to say OK. And now we've got a B chord in the library. Notice we still don't have anything written here, and we don't have the chord diagram up here. So I've got to actually just click it, and now it knows that this chord here was supposed to be that B chord, and it adds it into the song up here. All right, so then I'm just going to copy this right here. I did a right click and then selected copy, and then I'm just going to hit paste, 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 and paste. That's Control V. I could have right clicked and hit paste, or I could have gone to edit and done the copying and pasting from there. Okay, so now I'm going to select this, go back here to change the rhythm from a quarter note to an eighth note. And here's what this measure sounds like. Not bad. Okay, now this measure repeats 4 times. So all I did was I selected that measure and I hit Control C to copy, and then I pasted it 4 times, and that gave me 4 measures for me. Okay, now this is close, but this isn't quite right because there's a little shuffle here. So the rhythm that's written here is 1, 2, and 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, and 3, and. But what we more want is a 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, and 3, and. It's got a shuffle feel or a triplet feel. And so to get that, you'll come up here, right here, and select this. And they have several options for your shuffle. Some people also will call that a swung rhythm or a swing rhythm. So you hit OK. And now listen to it. Notice how it swings just a little bit more. Okay, and now that swung rhythm is applied throughout the whole song. Let's say there was a measure, though, that I wanted it to go straight. I wanted a straight rhythm and not a swung rhythm. I could, at this spot, I could again hit this, and I could tell it no triplet feel, and that specific spot would tell it no triplet, and then back here it would be back to triplet. I'm going to hit undo, and but I want you to see how you would do that if you want to measure or a section or whatever without the triplet feel when you've got that already in there. Okay, so from here we're going to go to the next measure. I just hit the right arrow key, and now I'm going to add my next chord in. So the first time I went and I added the tablature, but there's another way to do it. You can click the add button here, and you can just start adding them here. Okay, now notice it has a bar here. It's telling me that the 4th finger, and it uses a bar across. Well, I don't want that, so I'm going to de-tick this box here, and that gives me the 3 and the 4 right here, which is what I want. And then I want these 2 strings open. Now, I also want this at the 9th fret. So right now this is reading at, this is the nut, and that's the 1st fret. So I will select this until it hits 9, and now I'm in the 9th position. And that's the way you can get this bar right here scrolled up and down. That'll shift what position this chord diagram is working on. So this is now the 9th fret, 10th fret, 11th fret, and so on. Okay, so this chord is actually an F sharp minor 11 with a sharp 13 and no 3rd. Now, Guitar Pro 6 gave me a whole list of chords here, but unfortunately they're not correct. Sometimes I do that. Okay. Guitar Pro 6 often has a hard time figuring out, like, if it's a chord that doesn't use a 3rd. The 3rd is a pretty important chord note in most chords, so it's very, very rare that you'll omit that 3rd. But in this case, we do have one of those chords, so it's not a big surprise that Guitar Pro 6 didn't get this one.